Hi, my name is Kim, and my story is one of many. So I was an addict for 6 years in Knoxville, Tennessee. I grew up with a normal childhood. My family were Christians. My parents weren't addicts or anything like that. I believe that most addicts have a traumatizing experience. Like, we're not just predestined to be addicts. For me, that was when my dad had a motorcycle accident. I was 15 years old. I'm gonna cry. My dad had a horrible motorcycle accident. It left him paralyzed from the neck down, and to watch the strongest man that you know in your life, fade out like that. And he was in a pretty much like a vegetable state, but he still had his emotions and could still connect with what was going on in the world and feel everything. And that really traumatized me. But because I was a Christian and I knew God, I had faith that God was capable of miracles, and He could very well give my dad a miracle. He passed away 2 days before I graduated high school. I was supposed to go to the Art Institute in Nashville because I had a scholarship, and I was just tore up. I was angry, bitter at God and everybody else, honestly. So I did not go, and I just became involved with a different crowd of people that I had never experienced before. And because I was in a vulnerable state, I developed a very strong loyalty to those people. And for me, that proved to be almost harder to break than my addiction. So during my drug addiction, I obviously was involved with the wrong people, but I had gotten with some different guys. One of those guys, I had experienced some severe domestic abuse, and it endangered me, it endangered my children. It left me with feelings of worthlessness. I felt stuck. My parents had never talked to me about domestic abuse or anything like that. So I didn't know even the first steps to get out of that situation. I hid it from people. Again, I had such a loyalty to that person. He introduced me to some hardcore drugs, and at first it was just, a little here and there, and I would fuss at him, but eventually with all the abuse and just the bad feelings that I would have, I used it to numb the pain. And then after doing that for so long, then it becomes I have to have this or I can't function. And it just goes from there, and you get lost in it, and sometimes you don't even realize that you're developing this problem until it hits you. My lowest point was I was going to the hospital to have my third child, Easton. He had some complications. A social worker come in, and she just flat out told me that she's taking all 3 of my children. And I just fell apart that day. And I knew then that it was over. The facade that I was trying to put on, it's not working anymore. I was ashamed. After I lost custody of all 3 of my children, my days were very, very dark after that. I just had so much pain, and I didn't know how to get to that next level, that I was in and out of trap houses, no real place to stay, no real friends, you know, just acquaintances. And there were times that I stayed in my car. There were times that I did some really, really bad things that I'm not proud of. One day it all caught up to me and I went to jail. My turning point was Christmas Eve in jail. I'll never forget it. We were on lockdown because all the COs went home to be with their family. So I was by myself on Christmas Eve, and it just finally hit me. Like, what am I doing with my life? My kids, like, I should be playing Santa Claus right now, and here I am by myself eating this crappy food. And I hit my knees that day, and I literally got down on my knees and I cried out to God, and I told him that I was done doing things my way and that I just wanted to surrender completely to his will for my life. No, I didn't feel like an aha moment. Everything wasn't just automatically all better, but I did just start doing little things. I went down there and got a Bible, and I remember it very distinctly. It said rescued, not arrested. I still have that Bible to this day. And I just started reading, you know, and at first, like, it was jumbled. I couldn't understand it. And I think that's where a lot of people just kind of give up on it. But I kept pushing through. I had nothing better to do anyways. So I just kept reading, and eventually it started to make sense, and God started to reveal things to me. And one thing specifically was the story of Job and how Job suffered, but God was still with him. And then I associated it with, you know, my dad. And everybody goes through painful things, and it's hard, but there is a purpose in that pain. And I finally got to the point where I understood that. And do I know what that means fully? No, I don't. But I know that I'm where I'm at now because of it, and I am the person that I am now because of it. And had I never experienced the things that I did, I wouldn't be where I am. Today I am 5 years clean. I just continued to do the next right thing, and God showed up and he showed out for me. I have a job that I have worked for 3 years that I absolutely love, and that was a huge thing for me in active addiction. I just always thought that I would never be able to find a job, that everybody would always judge me, but my employer knows, and he has never once judged me. He has always been supportive. I met and married my husband, Nathan. One thing that I also thought in active addiction was that I would never find a partner that would accept me or my children and not judge the predicament that I was in my past. And he has been phenomenal, and God has truly, truly blessed me with him. Out of all of these accomplishments, the greatest of all is that just recently I earned my children back. I got custody back of my children, and they are here with me now, and I have a house and a job, and I am a quality member of society, I think. While I was in jail, my mom and stepdad had moved to Indiana with the kids. My mom faithfully went through each day with me in jail. Every time I called, she answered. So when it was time for me to leave jail, there had to be a plan put in place for me. So she reached out to Heartland. As soon as I left jail, and the very next day, I would be in class at Heartland, which was phenomenal for me. I came back to Indiana and lived with them in their house, and I was able to be with my children. And I started Heartland the very next day. And Heartland was wonderful for me. One thing that I really liked about it was it's not a one-size-fits-all mentality. It's more of, there's several different pathways to recovery. It's just keeping it is the #1 priority. For me, my spirituality was my pathway, and they never criticized me for that, not once. Another thing that I really loved and valued about Heartland is it helped me to be introduced back into society. And for an addict, that's a huge thing. Like, I needed structure, I craved it, and there were classes every day at first, and when you had to be there, you get to make relationships with them. And there are times I've graduated the program, and there have been times where I've came back because I needed a letter or just to talk, and they've always been there for me. These are some key things that have helped me and followed me through my journey, and I would like to share them with you. Growth is always found in the uncomfortable. There is purpose in pain. Try your best to be intentional. Tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. Don't become a victim to your past. Use it to transform into the person who you're called to be. You are a warrior. You are highly favored. You are loved, and you are called.